Hi, it is day 15, build your belonging. And look at my pocket here. Let's just sort that out. It looks a bit strange. I want to talk to you today about heroes and villains. And the reason that I think this is important is that often we will notice that the same relationships or people or kinds of people keep showing up in our lives from time to time. So if you are stuck in a pattern of attracting the same type of partner, let's say you have same kind of relationship issues that keep coming up in your romantic relationships, or you change jobs and you find that the boss that you're working for seems to have the same traits as the boss that you worked for in your previous job, and you can't seem to figure out what the hell is going on. Or even in friendships, your friendship circle, perhaps you have conflict in a certain way with some friends, and then you find that there's this pattern emerging, and it just doesn't really seem to make sense because you don't have an intention of working for people that are, or being friends with people or going out with people that are challenging in the way that you're finding, and you can't seem to break out of the habit. And I think this is really important to speak about because something that sits at the heart of the work that I do is that we cannot change other people, and never ever will I ever encourage anybody to even try and do that, because it's fruitless, it's pointless, and it's not really kind of conducive to making the long-term sustainable change for yourself anyway. And actually it's manipulative and controlling, even if the other person is behaving extremely badly. It doesn't work. But what we need to do is to be really clear on the types of people that are showing up in our lives, because there's some interesting work that we can do around that. And I'll start with the villains first. We'll come to the heroes in a minute. Um, I'll give you an example of why this is important. So most of my romantic relationships up until I met my husband 10 years ago were followed a very similar pattern. They were very chaotic. There was a lot of drama involved. Um, I often felt very needy in the relationships, like I was really seeking validation and attention, um, and often felt abandoned and not seen, not heard, not really loved and cared for. And even though that it didn't feel like outwardly that's what I was looking for, when I reflect back, what my own internal state, my subconscious, was in some ways seeking out chaotic, challenging relationships, because actually that's what I knew from growing up. Um, and we often think, well, I'm not going to do things, I'm going to do things completely differently to how things were done, in my home, if we grew up in a home that was difficult or challenging. But if your system is familiar with chaos and drama and arguing and someone who isn't emotionally available, that is what we will often end up subconsciously seeking out. And there's a couple of ways of looking at it. Often it's an unconscious thing, but there's also something around like trying to complete the puzzle. Like, if I can rectify this situation, then I've completed, I have helped someone change, I've helped someone see the error of their ways. I'm a good person, I've made someone else be a good person. And so we don't realize that we're stuck in these subconscious patterns of behavior. We don't realize that that's what's happening. And so by starting to recognize these patterns in our relationships, it can be really, really useful, and an invitation to see what it is that we might need to do some work on, essentially. Um, because for me, what I recognize now is that I was kind of attracted to people that were emotionally unavailable, and part of that is linked to a deep-rooted feeling of not being good enough, not being worthy of feeling safe and being loved, in a way that I deserved. And so the inner work for me, and is an ongoing piece of work. It's not something I've cracked by any means, but it's something that I continue to work on all the time. Is creating a sense of worth, and building a foundation of I do deserve to be loved in a safe way, to be taken care of, to be treated well, to be nurtured, and all of those things. And with hindsight, I can look back and I can see completely what was going on. But of course, when we're in it, we don't recognize it. We just think like, oh my God, why is this not working out for me? And similarly, with work situations, friendships, any major area of your life, money could be one. Your relationship with money could be, another area where you just can't seem to kind of get on top of things, or you have a difficult relationship with money. Like any of these major areas of our lives, there'll be patterns for us, and where there are patterns, there are invitations for us to look deeper. And so I want to explain this from kind of heroes and villains, because the villains are really useful for us to identify and then reflect inwards. And not because this is not about blaming ourselves, like, oh my God, you haven't got yourself together, that's why you keep attracting situations, people, like this. That's not what I'm encouraging here. I'm encouraging it to be reflective, and to look for opportunities and invitations to tune into core beliefs that you might be carrying about yourself that are not serving you and are not helpful. And all of this is done with huge amounts of self-compassion, which is hard because we are very quick to kind of go into shame and blame and judgment of ourselves, particularly if we struggle with low self-worth, which many of us do. We will beat ourselves up for not being better, and again that just links back to the whole I'm not good enough. So at some point we have to invite some love and compassion in, and then we can start to rebuild. So I want you to think about and cast your mind. So yesterday I asked you to look at chapters of your life and to give those chapters of your life a title, and a summary, a précis if you like. And I guess I want you to think about, like, who are the villains that have shown up in your life, perhaps within those chapters, and are continuing to show up. Like, do you see a pattern forming throughout your life where the same type of person shows up again and again in various different settings and situations? My dogs are barking, so that's going to be a bit noisy. Hopefully they'll stop in a sec. And then the flip side to that is the heroes, right? Because, often the heroes are unsung. Because if we're so caught up in everything's going wrong for me, we will miss opportunities to look for the heroes. And so I actively want to encourage you to do that too, and to look for the heroes in your life. Or another term that I've seen used, which I absolutely love, is the glimmers, like the glimmers of hope. So whether that's a situation that comes about, that something that really takes care of you in some way, or somebody that really takes care of you in some way, and to really like tune into that and see what's going on, like what was good about that, what was helpful for you, what do you love about that person or that place or that situation, and to see the positive patterns that are forming too, because we're not just one thing, we are a mixture of all of these things, and there's darkness and there's light, and it's as important to balance that out. So we're not just looking for, oh my God, my entire romantic dating history is a complete disaster. We're also looking for where have things been good, and what are the qualities, what led, what are the traits, characteristics about a person that really really warms you, resonates with you, is supportive to you, because then you know what to start looking for. We don't have to burn everything to the ground to start building a foundation. And I think often people think, oh, I've got to hit rock bottom, everything's got to be really shocking before I'll finally get myself together. It doesn't have to be that way. We do not have to burn it everything to the ground. We can start wherever we are, okay? But awareness is key, and this is what I've been kind of, drumming on about this whole time, just over 2 weeks in now, is that it starts with our awareness, and we need to start raising our awareness in all of these different areas of our lives. So heroes and villains. So I really want you to, and today's more of a kind of education learning day, if you like, rather than practice. But if you feel inclined to tag on to the chapters of your life that you did from yesterday's practice, is to think about the heroes and villains. And I really want you to think about both, not just the villains. The villains will be way easier to identify, without a doubt, because they'll come to mind, they'll be fresh in your mind, they're there, aren't they, all the time knocking on the door. But make sure you speak to the heroes too, and you'll start to notice, oh yeah, like that friend, that person was a really good friend to me, and what I loved about this support was X, Y, and Z, and that's why that was helpful. And with the villains, I want you to see the pattern and see that as an invitation to look for, right, what's the belief I'm holding about myself in relation to that person. So, for example, let's say you have friends that never call you back, and you feel like you're the only person that's ever maintaining the relationship, or you're the only person that ever messages. You will feel like you are doing all the work. You will feel unseen, unheard, and so what might sit beneath that is, I'm not worthy of having quality relationships, quality friendships with people. Or another possible belief is, I'm not able to speak out about, actually I'm upset that they've not been calling me back. I'm not, I'm not able to speak my truth. There's a whole host of possibilities, but what I want you to do is to start exploring and just to start mining a little bit deeper for meaning. We are mining for meaning and seeing what's going on beneath the surface. So I'm going to leave it there, because the last few days have been quite meaty and quite juicy in terms of, we're getting a lot deeper. So I don't want it to be overwhelming and too much. So let's just, we're going to leave that there for today. But see if you can tag on the heroes and villains to your chapters of your life practice, and just see what you notice. Feel free to share anything with me via email or via DM. I love to hear, because these light bulb moments are really powerful. And actually, when we write them down, we tell someone about them, it makes them real. It's not in your head, you're not imagining it, it's real. So please do let me know. I'm loving hearing from those of you that have messaged me so far with your, your thoughts and your light bulbs that have been happening for you. So it's really powerful stuff. So thank you so much. And I will be back tomorrow. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.